Gurukul Sammelan. For those of you who are new to Chiranjeev Gurukul, CG is a learning platform where we aim to create leaders to transform today's world using the power of Arthashaastra or Indian wisdom. Chiranjeev Gurukul Sammelan is an initiative by our community to inspire, inform, and grow. The purpose of Sammelan is to bring forth the contemporary value of Arthashaastra or eternal Indian wisdom through interactive and engaging learning sessions that open our eyes to the applications of Indian wisdom. And today we have come here together for our 9th Chiranjeev Gurukul Sammelan, where we have a brilliant panel who's going to be talking to us about integrating Arthashaastra into workplaces. So before we start today's incredible session, let's begin with our invocation. So everybody, I would invite you all to take a deep breath, sit with your spine straight, throw your shoulders back, and close your eyes. We will chant Om 3 times with our invocation. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunantu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaste everyone and welcome again, and thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful Thursday evening. It's a pleasure to see you all. I would invite all of you to keep your video on if possible, and I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. Please do share your comments or questions in the chat. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Rajesh ji, who's the founder of Chiranjeev Gurukul and also today's moderator. Over to you.
Namaste everyone. Welcome to our Sammelan. And this is that time of the month that we really look forward to having all our Janta connected with CG community and beyond. Because we have some collective learning over here. So please don't be under the impression that we are the ones who are generating the knowledge over here. Sure, we are making an effort to present to you something which is interesting and exciting. And today is especially because, as you will see, I've myself been closely involved with this journey, and which is one of the reasons why I was selected as moderator for this. But that said, a lot of the last part of today's session, roughly the last 15 to 20 minutes, we want each of you to participate. And by the way, you don't have to start participating at the end, but please keep putting in your questions and comments. We really look forward to those. We'll take your questions, however, some of them, depending on the number of questions, towards the end. Okay, quick background before we begin. All right, as you know, today's theme is about integrating the Arthashaastra into the workplace. So obviously it comes to mind, and which is the reason why most of you joined, ki kaise kiya hai ye? Now, obviously, there is a further, rewind to this. And the rewind to this is the question that may have occurred to many of us at different points in time in our lives. That Bharatiya Shastra jo hai, sunne mein to bahut hi badhiya hai. लेकिन क्या इसका उपयोग हो सकता है, and especially professionally, right? Because personally we may use, I'm sure so many of us have, studied the Gita, we may have applied some of it, but is this something that we can truly take to the workplace, integrate into all that we do? Is there one such Shastra? The answer is yes. And all of us are going to listen to more on this. All right. So you are all in for an amazing journey and experience with us. I'm going to, at this point in time, invite our three panelists. They are, and you will discover the term that I use, what's it all about? The Swami of the organization, the founder and the head of the organization, the director of the organization called Embark Water, also having another company called Aster Technologies, and that is Pankaj. So welcome, Pankaj. That's the first one. I also want to invite the head of customer solutions, who plays a very, I'm going to request everyone to go on mute, please. The head of customer solutions, who actually plays a double role, which he himself will get an opportunity to share later. But as you can imagine, it's a crucial role. That's Nilesh Tandale. Namaste, Nilesh. And last but not the least, I'm going to invite the individual. Yeah, you can also bring in Nilesh later. Yeah, or now. Thank you. And I'm also going to invite the one who is responsible for the HR function in the organization, and by virtue of that, many other things also, which we will listen to today, will fall in this domain. The manager HR there is Ashwini. Namaste and welcome, Ashwini. Yes. So we are going to have a wonderful chat together. Okay. And I'm going to start with who else but Pankaj. So shouldn't we know a little bit more about what is this organization all about? How did it all begin? उनको अर्थशास्त्र की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी वो तो बाद में आ जाएगा, लेकिन कंपनी की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी वो तो पहले समझते हैं. So I'm going to request Pankaj to share a little bit about the journey so far, especially the pre-Arthashastra days, if I can call it that. Welcome, Pankaj, once again.
Namaste. Okay, some clarifications. Yeah, like Rajesh said, there are these two companies which we started. One was Embark Water and the other was Aster Technologies. This whole group company, I'm the Swami, but there is a Swamini too, Juhi, my wife. And this, wherever we have reached, she has played also an equally important role. As Rajesh calls it, she's the enabler in the organization. Okay, to give a little brief on what we are and how we started. Well, we started this company way back in 1996. That takes it to like 27 years. But my personally, my journey and my this starting up of a company as a Swami or as an entrepreneur happened in 96, though. But prior to this, for almost about 9 years, I was working in a company in Pune, and if I could name, it was Thermax. And in my 9 years, I actually became an entrepreneur there itself. The company had offered me all the learnings that anybody would get at the cost of his own business. Here, it was, Thermax, which offered me a platform where I learned all possible functions which you use in a business. And, during that period of 9 years, I realized I have an immense interest in creating some products. And because I was somehow related with water, all my creations and ideas that were coming in my mind were around water. I could figure out what the industry needed and where the gaps were. And I said, well, since I have nothing to lose, I can always get back into a job. I come from a background where I think I know at least up till my grandfather, great grandfather, nobody has ever, tried to be in a business. My father himself was in a government job, but they were all very supportive when I said I want to take this plunge into doing something of my own. And yes, with all their supports and blessings, I did start, and of course, the support of my wife, because when I first started and I left my job, we didn't even have a house in Pune. We were staying in a rented accommodation, and she said, "Don't worry, at least we have my salary coming in, and we'll take care of the rent." And we had no savings, nothing, and the savings I had went into paying for the deposit for the house, because I had to leave my company leased accommodation. That's the point we started, and we made our first product. And the first product was first introduced to my first and only employer, which was Thermax, and they were again supportive, and they said, "Well, we'll use it." From there, we started a single product company, and the only other person who was assisting me in the business was my own wife. Okay, so we were Swami, Swamini, and Amatya, whatever you call it, we were all in one package. And since then, we have had our ups and downs, growths, exponential growths, then organic growths, then some downfalls also we saw, especially by the time we reached, the year 2020. And what hit us was, besides everything else, what hit us was the pandemic. And it also, made us think what next and what could happen. That was one side of it. Parallelly, what was happening was we were growing from just the two of us. We kept increasing in size, in turnovers, and then we needed more people. We kept hiring people. We kept adding vendors. Interestingly, the first person I hired is still with us. The first vendor we started collaborating with is still with us. The first Mitra or the associate or dealer is still with us. I mean, and it has grown. And we realized at one point in time that as we've grown in size, in numbers, in associations, direct people who are employed on our roles, our partners, our associates, somewhere, there is no formal organized process by which, we could expand and we could ensure that everything, the way it has moved and grown so far, it continues, and it continues with the same pace, if not higher pace. And we were wondering whether is everything that we are doing is right, and is there a formula? Because we were all both first generation business people, and had no clue. Somehow, with everybody's blessings, I think we just got the right people right from the day. I had not planned to be in Thermax, but I got into Thermax. I had not really planned what products to make, but they just kept happening. Well, of course, it's been a very hard journey of 27 years. End of it, one feels good and proud of where we have reached. So that is the time. Around 2020, we, in fact, Juhi came across. I mean, she's got a friend who introduced Rajesh sir and the concept to us, and we thought we have time. We are both sitting,
Yes,
and we need to at least explore what it is. And if there is somebody who could take us through the ancient wisdom, and let's see how it goes. Also, we had our son who had done his electronics engineering, and He was also, after working in a few companies outside, he also chose to join the business. So it looked like a family-run business, and we were just wondering whether we're doing just what comes across to us as common sense. Is that common? Is that right? So a lot of questions were there in our mind. Also, we were beginning to feel somewhere in our entire team and the way we were hiring, uh, there was some sync which was missing. Maybe, if I always give that example of a machine or a vehicle which has to move in a particular direction. There's a whole machinery. There are gears, there are wheels, and everything has to be aligned together for the whole vehicle to move in a certain direction, which you could maneuver, right? Somewhere we felt that though we were moving, but we were struggling, and there were noises coming. If you're, turning the steering in one direction, the road is turning in another direction, and you're somehow managing your, trajectory and path. So we thought, how do we and what do we do to see what is our purpose, what should be the organization's purpose, and can we have the entire organization right from top aligned to that purpose? First of all, to identify and imagine exactly, uh, we were always struggling, doing those firefightings, and because something or the other would keep you busy. There was nothing like introspection, swadhyay, where we really sat down, took a break. Fortunately, the pandemic gave us that time. We were forced to be at
Right.
home. We were not working. The business had kind of stopped. In fact, 2 months, there was nothing happening. And then because we
Right.
come from an industry which is, partially dealing with essential like water, we were given permission to work. And that too, we did work out ways and means by how we, with limited attendance, limited resource, limited suppliers availability, how do we ensure we service our customers? And that in that whole process, because we were also learning, and our journey with CG and Rajesh sir had just started, that part of the pandemic, the lockdowns and the difficult period, we
Right.
evolved. And even though we were, having online sessions, it was definitely coming to our mind that, whatever excitement now we have, we want to share with the rest of the team. It was not,
Right.
we had
So
one
may
or
I interject for a minute, Pankaj? For the sake of our audience, I would like you to dwell a little bit about, you mentioned the vehicle and the point where, okay, some noises here and there. What made you feel that this is not something that we can manage? Because you've managed the organization for a long time before that. So what made you feel, or what was it that made you feel that let's have an external intervention? Was it a certain stage of the organization where you felt, okay, I think we are, not picking up enough momentum? Was there something more to it?
So yes, like I said, one, we knew we had to do something differently, and we always feel and felt at that time that whatever brought us up to let's say 2020 will not take us where we want to be, and with our limited understanding of running a business and running an organization, we just did what we felt was done based on our instincts, uh, and we were feeling that there is a slight tapering in our growth. One, two, uh, those noises, and I didn't know how to have everybody aligned. My own thought process, like I said, I was more focused on day-to-day working, and I didn't know how to align because I myself was not aligned. There was nothing like introspection and taking a pause and thinking what we should be doing next, and just thinking on your own without not even knowing whether what your thought process, the direction in which you're going, is right or wrong. We wanted somebody to be there to mentor us, somebody who comes with some experience, and it just coincidentally happened that we got in touch. And
Yes.
there was another reason, which was like I said, Aman, he was joining, and we felt being parents at times,
Yes.
uh, there are times when you have to behave like a swami, sometimes you have to behave like a father, sometimes you have to behave like a mother. So at times it might not become a very professional thing. Even if I was to be talking to Nilesh, giving him uh, an input, a suggestion, or maybe I could be critical because he is one of my amatyas and I have to see how he is doing and how he's improving. That I myself didn't know how to handle this situation. So we thought again, what should be the best way to handle that, and where all of us are comfortable, and the common
Yes.
purpose and of the company, which is well-being and everything of our team and our
Yes.
growth that everybody sees happens. So we
Sure.
weren't sure what we are in for, but we had time and we had you, so we started. And
Yes.
luckily for us, things have worked. Things.
Yes. So I'm going to, at this stage, before you continue, Pankaj, I'm going to quickly say a couple of things to our audience. So all the people that Pankaj mentioned are there in the audience. Okay, that's number one. So the Swamini Juhi is there. The one who Juhi spoke to for getting me on board as an external interventionist, Sarika is also there. And so also is Aman and various other characters. So it's very interesting. They're all here. The first Amatya is also here. Okay, so they are all here. That's number one. Secondly, you may have already noted, especially those who are attending a CG Sammelan for the first time, that there are many terms that have already been used. And you may wonder, what am I attending? Who is this Swami? Who is this Swamini? What is this Amatya? It's going crazy. So we are going to... No problem. It's all fun. We are going to share a little bit about this language a little later. But what I do want you to note is the impact that it has on the organization, that it becomes an automatic part of the language that is used by the person there. Okay, that's a very interesting one. Yes, Pankaj, I'd like you to share a little bit about the this slide which is there on the screen, which you had shared with me before we began. Could you share a little bit about how did this come in for you?
Well, this came in, our understanding came in with you coming in, but like you had asked that question, since we had not put up this slide, I was telling you what I felt before you came in. But we realized the thoughts and the confusions which were there in our mind, you crystallize it because in any organization, you have these 4 steps continuously happening.
Correct.
Creation, consolidation, expansion, succession. Then you go back to creation. Okay. We are somewhere in that creation, expansion phase, and we are going back and forth, Not really sure. Juhi feels that we are still in consolidation phase. Ashwini, when we were discussing, she said, thoda to expansion mein bhi gaye, but then we've gone back into curve. So in this, we are somehow oscillating. And if we had not taken all the steps that we have taken and we are continuously taking and learning to take
Yes.
in the right direction, we won't move forward to succession and then go back to creation. This is where we are. But like I said, we feel that we are moving in the right direction now.
Yes. So for our audiences, just to clarify and therefore to involve you and bring your interest further. So when the Arthashaastra journey started, right, I became an instrument to bring this divine knowledge in. And one of the things that is very important is to acknowledge what part of the journey are we in. And it is very easy to feel because we have traversed a lot of times, so we may be in expansion. But that is when the moment of truth really has to kick in to say, have we strengthened everything that needs to be strengthened by way of our talent, by way of our processes, by way of our, cash flows, etc., etc. Then alone we can scale. So the purpose of Pankaj bringing in this slide, which is called Chatushtam or the cycle of 4, is to show that, look, we are already created and we perhaps moved into expansion and are there, but we are still doing consolidation simultaneously so that we have the strength to take up all the scaling that we are doing. So, Pankaj, here's now the next question, and after that we'll bring in our other panelists, is that how did this journey begin? What was the first thing that you felt? Yaar, ye chahiye. You mentioned it briefly, but I want to take you back there. What is it that we need for taking now this organization to the next stage? What was that?
So like I said, the first and fundamental thing was that we, have a common goal, a common purpose, right from the top, that is the Swami Swamini, to the Danda, which we call, which is the staff and the HODs, everyone. We should have a common purpose, and if there is a common goal that the company has, then it becomes that much easier because people are then aligned to that goal. That was the main thing. And it's not that as a Swami, we say this is the goal and everyone follows it. Okay? That is not the way we were taught, and that is not the way the Arthashaastra that we were going through and learning taught us. So basically, we went through a lot of learning sessions. We actually called it Manthan only. It's just like what we have studied in the ancient mythology, the Samudra Manthan that we all know of. And it was with the hope of, finally getting an output, which would be Amrit. And in that process of Manthan, a lot of things came out, including the wish. Wish came out first, the poison, and then so many other things which came out. So that Manthan, that process of churning with all the, okay, I'll have to, for others who are joining for the first time, if I used to, HODs doesn't come so easily now for me.
Yes, we'll bring it in, no problem.
So with our entire team, we had a small team of about 12 or 15 HODs. And in fact, out of those, some of them were people whom we identified as who could be potentially HODs. We also included them because we didn't have a very large group. And ours is a very flattish organization, even though we have a total strength of about 50, 60. Everybody's everywhere. And we didn't have any organizational structure per se. But the key people who've been there with us for many years, we said, let's all learn together and let's see how it goes. So that Samudra Manthan, it was a tedious process where we used to sit on every Wednesday for about 2-3 hours. Obviously, Rajesh sir was there in that. And, divided into teams and teams working out, and with many sutras and many examples, some beautiful stories from the Panchatantra and from ancient wisdom, which, we used to read those comics, Panchatantra comics, without understanding the message. So many of those things which are actually ancient wisdom, we didn't have it. Uh, Fortunately, with the learnings that we had, we could, take a lot of messages from that. Those messages were converted into each group's understanding and how we can relate to our organization, each of those messages. And we started, evolving our vision and values. And that, all those slides and those sheets that you see, they're only just sample sheets. We have at least 100 such sheets because we thought we'll preserve whatever process of learning we went through, and whatever manthan we went to, we wanted to record that. So each of those sheets are preserved here. Probably in sometimes we will laminate and we'll be putting it in our training rooms. Uh, but
Nice.
one of the things which came out of the manthan, like I said, in the Samudra Manthan, so many good things came out. So for us, this was the first gift which we got for our organization.
Absolutely.
Values.
And I remember, as Pankaj said, there was so much of work put in by everyone to finally evolve these 5. So friends, I want to tell you very important that even in the usage of the Arthashaastra, it's a very collaborative process. It's not like, okay, ye sutra hai, abhi ye jo sutra bol raha hai, sabko karna hai. No, it is utilizing the value of that message, the essence of that sutra, for bringing in what we need as an organization. So it is combining the eternal, I don't call it ancient, with the contemporary. ये दोनों को साथ में जब लाया, the vision became very clear, and the previous slide showed you a lot of work that went into it, just a little bit of sample of it, and these values emerged. And even though you see it here only in English, it also exists in various parts of the organization in Marathi as well, because the company being in Pune and a large number of the workforce being predominantly Marathi speaking, it was very important they could relate to it.
Yes. Yes.
And then that was also taken deeper down into the organization. So here comes now the time, Pankaj, to really explain what is this Swami, Swamini, Amatya, language that you've been using, right? Could you share a little bit about what framework does this come from? How did this language seep in?
So, it is the entire ecosystem, which we work in. We are all doing in businesses. Many of us are in businesses, and we have a business owner, we have HODs, and we have, but the way we learned, and today we are able to appreciate and internalize it, and we feel, we are able to really identify with this whole thing, because around the business owner or the Swami, who's it's like you can compare it with a kingdom in the olden days, okay, where
Correct.
and this is how we've been taught. But basically, the term Amatya comes from all the deputies or the HODs or the mantris of the king.
That's right.
It's not that the king is being protected by the mantris, but the Amatyas, the way, Swami is in the center though. But like, first thing that we learned, and it makes very logical sense, is just after the HODs, the Janpat or the citizen or the customers, they are made much closer to the whole inside. They are a part of the whole ecosystem. Normally one would imagine there's a company with so many people, starting from the owner to the HODs, then departments, HR, admin, this and that. Then you have, system outside, which is your customers. But today, the customers are very much within our whole ecosystem. We spend a lot of time. In fact, we have planned, as per the Saptang, there are 7 components of the Saptang, right, starting from the Swami to the Mitra, who are the allies. So we have our vendors, we have our distributors who are our, we call them Mitras. In fact, today
Wow.
we don't consider anyone as competition. We have many such success stories where actually we have aligned with our competition. And today, quite a bit of our business is coming because we could find some synergy with the competition also. Somewhere we could give them what they didn't have, somewhere we could take from them what they had, rather than, trying
Amazing.
to invent the wheel and all that. So our whole understanding of the ecosystem has changed, and we are still learning. And I'm trying to have a daily routine which we have planned, and uh, the effort is to spend time, some part of my time with the Amatya, one of the Amatyas every day, some part of my time with the customer, some part of my time should go in the Durg, which is my infrastructure, and seeing the infrastructure is just a very basic word. Durg has a very deep meaning, which I will not get into. And okay, finance and the team. Dund is the rest of the team, which is also a part of the ecosystem. And I do take out time to see once in a while. Like we used to hear those stories of the kings, like Akbar would go
Yes.
and see what his praja is going through. So
Yes.
as you grow, at times you tend to forget getting a feel of what is happening at the grassroots level. But
Yes.
conscious effort now to spend some part of your day to
Right.
understand what's happening. It's not just sitting in your cabin. So all those, and then
Superb.
some time you take out to be
Yes.
interact with your vendors and dealers, and so there is a conscious
Excellent.
planning of the day that has happened purely because of our being a little more enlightened about what we should be
Yes,
doing.
it's phenomenal as the, how you've explained, internalized everything and explained. See, folks, it's very important, audience who's listening in. This journey is not one of 7, 8, 10 years. Because आपको लगता रहेगा the way Pankaj is able to mention these words, that it has been part of the system for very long. But what I do want to tell you is, हमको लगता है अगर संस्कृत शब्द है तो हम इसे बोल नहीं पाएंगे, बहुत मुश्किल है हमारे लिए. We cannot internalize these. That is far from the truth. We can easily understand what the term means, and then, having understood that, use it better. For example, I'm going to quickly go through these terms for those especially who have tuned in for the first time. And you please don't get overwhelmed by what you are learning. And we are happy to share more and more. In fact, the entire purpose of this session is so that you can get more curious and gain more knowledge. Here we go. So Swami is the leader, meaning one who is as steady as that center of the circle. He or she can only be steady if one is completely controlled within oneself. जो अंदर भीतर जाकर, खुद के अंदर जाकर, can find out what is my strength, what is my core, and be steady there. Number one. Secondly, Amatya is the term for HODs or deputies. In those days used to mean confidant. They still are in a certain way for that certain discussion, for that function. So that's the second one. And so Amatyas today mean the deputies. Janpad, which Pankaj was referring to as it's part of our organization. The customers should not be outside your organization. Physically, they may be, but are they in the consideration of your organizational scheme of things all the time? That's why Janpad is here. Janpad meant citizens then and mean customers today. Durga is the infrastructure, physical and digital. There is an angle of it where Durga also stands for emotional infrastructure or culture, a little bit of which Ashwini will speak later on. The next is kosher, the treasury. Agar treasury nahi hai, to company badega kaise? The next is dand. Time to explain that, look, in Sanskrit, one word has many meanings. And danda over here is not punishment. Danda at that point in time meant the army, the Sena. But Sena was responsible for the general law and order. That today are our people in the organization, those who are willing to fight for us no matter what the circumstances. That is the team, rest of the team. And finally, Mitra is probably the concept that will get elaborated a lot today. And I'm going to go to that individual very soon. Mitra refers to the stakeholders who work with the organization. And what a brilliant explanation you gave, Pankaj, to be able to think of competition as Mitra and therefore make it part of your ecosystem. So net, audience, I want you to remember that the Swami is not the leader of the company, is the leader of the organizational ecosystem. With that, I'm going to bring in Nilesh now. And Nilesh, I want you to share, many a times Pankaj mentioned in the last half an hour, Amatya. Okay, what does it mean to be an Amatya, number one? And could you share a little bit about your language now and who is that Mitra? Yes.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity, first of all. So basically, I'm working with this organization.
Yes, all you are saying is very beautifully echoing. Never mind. We will fix that. Please, could you go back on the slide, whoever is transitioning the slides? Yes, please hold it here. Yes.
So is my voice clear now?
Yes, very good.
So I was saying that I'm working with the organization since last 15 years. And, I'll just tell you how it was before we started learning the ancient Indian wisdom. So, as a manager, it is my daily, routine with deal with the customers, our dealers, vendors, and suppliers. We call them as a Mitra now. But earlier, there was no bhav in the communication, whatever I had with them. For example, some vendor has given, some material and it is not as per the quality. I would simply say, okay, this is not acceptable and reject it. But since I have started, learning this, there is more empathy, more warmth about, every stakeholder. So it is going to like Pankaj sir said, it is an ecosystem. We will grow together, whether it is our vendor or a dealer, doesn't matter. It is our Mitra. So that warmth is there, first of all. That is my first change with these learnings. The second one, you can just Google a job description of a manager and it will tell you number of things like, he should have good communication skill, he should be able to supervise and lead employees, he should be able to, be productive and blah, 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 everything. But nowhere you will find that he should be able to empower his team. So that I could find in the Indian wisdom. So now, if I have to cut it short, if any of my team member is not, performing as per his expectation, it is my responsibility, to teach him, to guide him, to mentor him. And it is like, when I do that with my team, it actually gives me a pleasure and a connect with an individual. So it is actually adding, a good culture I'm making it is what I feel whenever I do that.
Bahut badhiya. Bahut badhiya. So I want to ask you that if you were to, I've seen, of course, how you've, if I can call it, flowered with this journey also. कोई एक सूत्र बताइए जो आपको पसंद आया, more importantly, which was relevant to your work.
The recent one is, earlier I used to, I had that mindset, but now you know, I would suggest, I would like to mention it, not this one. See, basically, I don't know from where it comes, but it is like amantram aksharam nasti, nasti mulam anaushadam, ayogya purusho nasti, yojaka tatra durlabh. That means no human
Wow.
being is, completely useless. So
Yes.
that is, a very
Nothing in the
favorite.
world is useless.
Useless. Yes.
Yes.
So that one is my favorite.
Beautiful. Could you also elaborate on this one? Because I think this is what I feel is something very that you use in your work, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yes, yes. So this is how we are integrating Arthashaastra in workplace. We call this, again, Acharya's blessings. This is a PSSR rule for us. Praja Sukhe Sukham Radnya. Abhi Raja is, a leader. Praja is our customers in this case. Prajanam cha hite hitam. Natma priyam hitam radnya. Prajanam tu priyam hitam. So basically ये है कि जो कस्टमर को अच्छा लगेगा, in the happiness of the customer lies the happiness of the organization. So which is dear to the king or the leader is in his benefit, but which is dear to the customer is in the benefit of the leader or the organization. So a recent example is we make a good amount of variety of control panels and instruments. So recently we launched a control panel for wastewater treatment. And we thought that the design team has done well, and we will be able to, when we launch this product, we will have huge number of orders, this, that. But at that time of point, we didn't take the customer feedback that whether it is actually required. And as a result, we couldn't, whatever orders we were expecting, those were not there. So when we went to the customer with the product, we realized that these are the basic requirements for that particular panel, because when we talk about wastewater treatment, generally it will be in some basement or something like that. So earlier our panel didn't have any audio alarm. So even if something goes wrong, no one will understand that. So we added so many features, and now
Wow.
whenever we take it to the customers, they really appreciate it.
बहुत बढ़िया. Lovely example of how just tuning in to the customer's need can improve our design, our approach, our entire product itself. Okay, so here's one more thing, and this is a very exciting stage, my dear friends. We are post the halfway mark. Here's what I want to ask you, Nilesh. कोई एक टूल है क्या जो कंपनी ने यूज किया है? बिकॉज अक्सर ये पूछा जाता है दैट oh, give me tools to use. That's the need of the modern world. Give me a toolkit. Give me things that I can use. कुछ है अर्थशास्त्र में या सिर्फ चाणक्य ने फिलोसॉफी ही दिया है?
There are so many. I will just tell you one. Basically, this one.
Yes.
The first one. Okay.
Yes, if you wish, you can go to the previous also. I leave it to you. We can come to the tool immediately after.
Okay. We will come to this later.
Okay.
Okay. So, see, basically, earlier we had, clashes and issues in executing some order. And I used to say to my team that, we are like that Lagan ka cricket team. Even if, the ball is at, mid-off, the sleep guy is also running behind the ball. So that is not, a company should run like. We are busy, but the final output is not, aligned. So this is, I feel, a very relevant sutra that when you plan something and execute as per that plan, then work is no longer difficult. And
Beautiful.
to implement this, we have a tool, and again, it is from Kautilya Arthashaastra. Panchang. So I will not go into the details, but basically it is, it will give you a sense of when to start, where to start, what should be our initial direction, what is our ultimate aim. Okay, we have planned these many things, but what if those will, if something goes wrong, what plan B do you have? And finally, what is the output? Are we really satisfying the customer needs? So this tool is, a very powerful, and I'm using this in almost every, execution of almost every project orders.
Yes. So, I'd love to go to Ashwini immediately, but not without asking you, Nilesh. I was really excited one day when I got to know that, you've started sharing Arthashaastra sutras with the dealers. Tell us about the time when you went to a dealer and what happened there. What inspired you to bring it in? What was the response?
See, basically, again, every time I related it to our, day-to-day operations. Earlier, there were issues like customer wanted something, the order came in through a dealer, but that was not clear. We managed to, make that product, we dispatched it. And at the final stage, we realized, oh, the customer wanted something else. So I had I could get an opportunity to visit our dealer in Delhi. So there I could share some sutras. One of them was Parikshatarya Vipatti. So if we examine or analyze something, then then there is no Vipatti later. There is no Sankat. So
Beautiful.
whatever we are getting in, we have made some templates. Whatever specifications they are asking, we are ensuring that this is what you have asked and this is we are going to deliver. So then there is no the 11th hour surprises. So
True.
that helped in.
Beautiful.
The mistake ratio has come down to almost 0.
Lovely. So, folks, we may not go into details of this, but it was a very important slide that Nilesh wanted to show that how even the word seva can be translated into truly connecting with the customer with emotion, with empathy, evaluating the problem based on that empathy, then validating if his understanding is okay and the solution that we have suggested, does it work? And then finally asking the customer, even after it has been provided, that abhi theek hai na? What should we change? What would you like us to bring in more? And keep educating. So I'm going to, at this point, and I will come back to Nilesh and Pankaj in a bit. I want to move it to now the person who has been smiling a lot because she is delighted that she joined an organization where she could both learn and share so much. So, Ashwini, I'm bringing you in, and I want to bring you in with asking you the question, share a little bit about your journey, especially connected to the learning and development of the organization, because that's our core theme today. ये learning culture जो हम सुन रहे हैं Aster में है, ये कैसे हुआ?
Yeah. So namaste everyone. Thank you so much for joining in us on our journey of learning Arthashaastra and implementing it, our efforts to implement it in our workplace. I feel that I am always there. Like I've been there with this organization for a long time now. When I joined in, it was a time of performance appraisal, and we were doing it through the lenses of Arthashaastra. So I could get that very fortunate opportunity to learn it firsthand. There it started. And then my interest grew in it because it was there with me right from my childhood. Indian wisdom was there with me right from my childhood. And because of that, I guess I could connect with it very, quickly. And then it fascinated me. The way it can impact human life, it fascinated me. And then I thought, why not to take it to the whole ecosystem, if possible? And from there on, our efforts started. So it is for my own, we are trying to do it. So I'll now quickly take you through the areas of HR domain where we are trying to implement Arthashaastra. So let us start with a talent acquisition. We all know that every organization look for certain qualities in a candidate or a prospective person they are looking to hire. At our place, we do it through Amartya Sampat. Now, Amartya term, we got a little bit familiar what this Amartya term is. For King, Amartya is a very key person for him. He's kind of a manager. So for manager, we call him Amartya, right? So for these Amartyas, whatever qualities are, necessary to have, Acharya Chanakya has given us a list of qualities. Those qualities are called as Sampat. So there are around 23 qualities in Amartya Sampat, and we follow or we acquire talent based on these qualities. For example, Sheel is very important to us. Sheel is what? It is character of a person. From where that person is coming, what is his family background, what are his values, what does he think about his previous organization, what culture means to him. These things are very, very important to us. Then, for example, Chakshuma is eye for detail. We may ask him certain question, or we may, put some case in front of him and see how he, analyze it in the interview or the process. Utsayuk, that is another quality which is important to us. So overall, for talent acquisition, we follow Amartya Sampat, which is given by Acharya. Yeah.
Superb. Tell us more. I'm very, very excited. Tell us about, you mentioned you joined at the time of performance appraisal. Okay, and I do remember the time. But share a little bit about, did it get used in that?
Yes, very much. Actually, the overall performance appraisal, which is a 360-degree based, approach, is based on Arthashaastra. There are two things in it. One is Amartya Sampat, the qualities we are trying to appraise. And second, the people who are participating in this 360-degree performance appraisal. So there are two, areas. One is the internal stakeholders, and second is the external stakeholders. In internal stakeholders, we have Swami, that is leadership, Amartyas, then the HODs and their reportees. In external stakeholders, we have Mitras. These are our vendors, dealers, their allies, customers. That is Mitra only. And then we have consultant also. And we have almost all the ecosystem covered under this performance appraisal. And there are certain qualities on which we have designed a scale, right? And on that scale, we assess the performance. So this may be the qualities like Dirgha Durshipana, that is strategic thinking, skillfulness, communication abilities. How is Amartya is influential in his area? How is his eye for detail? How does he think, in the future?
Beautiful.
All we cover in that scale.
So very fascinating. It must be for our audiences to see that everything has been thought of in those times, and you can still make it relevant to today's times.
Right.
Ashwini, I want you to please take this into the learning domain now. I mean, there will be a lot of areas that you all have touched, but could you go to the learning?
Yeah, just one addition. We just don't stop at collecting the feedback from our stakeholders, but we do feed forward after that. Every Amartya sits with or Swami or Swamini sits with Amartya, and they do feed forward based on this.
Superb. Also worth stating at this point in time, I remember being personally involved with Pankaj speaking to all the dealers on a single video conference call to tell them that we are bringing in a 360 degrees feedback system where we wanted inputs from them as well. And they were quite wowed by that. And, they said, maybe we have a little time to chat later, but they wanted to also get feedback or feed forward, as you rightly said, themselves, which was a very exciting part. Yes, sir. Please continue, Ashwin.
Yeah.
Yes, we could go to the next slide, please.
Yes. So this slide gives us the glimpse of the learning culture we are trying to build in, at our workplace. We all are very fortunate to have Rajesh sir as our Acharya for Arthashaastra. And whatever we learn from him, through him, we try to cascade it down. So how do we do it? We conduct weekly sessions, and in these weekly sessions, everybody sits, right from Swami to Danda, everybody is a part of this learning sessions. Now we teach them Arthashastra, we teach them sutras. Everyone may not get sutra. So what is the best way to teach better than the stories? So we carry story along with the sutra. We narrate story and then we relate it with sutra. After we relate it with sutra and explain the sutra, we ask them, what did you learn from? That means we take reflections from them. And then lastly, how you can apply it in your day-to-day work practice. That is important. What change we can see in people. So that assessment also happens. Today only we conducted one assessment, for our weekly learning sessions. So this slides gives us the, glimpse of the learning session.
Can
Also,
you tell me one thing before you go to the next thing, Ashwini? I called you Amatya Ashwini. And you may wish to touch on this later. I'm so excited about all of this.
yeah.
How did this go to the lowest level? You may wish to cover it later. Yeah, I'm very interested in both discovering this and sharing it with the audience. Yes, please continue.
Yes. So, okay. Should I continue? Okay.
Yes, you can start with this and then go to that. It's absolutely okay.
Go to this. Okay. So we facilitate learning for Amatyas because Amatya, this word gives us the meaning that how much that person is important. He is the key person who is the anchor or the pillar of the organization, who can, cultivate that culture and make it strong enough. So learning for Amatyas is very important for us. So what do we do to facilitate that learning? First, we have weekly Swami Amatya interaction. This meetings goes with deep interactions of Amatya, key people with Swami. It may not limit to work only. It doesn't actually. It goes beyond that. Like what they are learning, new, what strategies they are thinking to implement in their work domain. How is their family doing? Everything gets discussed in these weekly Swami Amatya interactions. Also, Amatya can discuss what bottlenecks they are facing, what obstacles they are facing in the work domain, and Swami can, give them the direction. That first thing, Swami Amatya meet. Second is group learning sessions and mentoring for Amatyas. This we get from our very own Rajesh sir. So he comes to us for, almost every week and gives us the wisdom of India through Arthashastra and multiple, areas like we listen stories from Tenali Rama, Akbar Birbal, or Sinhasan Battisi maybe, and then Arthashastra also. Not just this group learning session, he also mentors Amatyas individually because every Amatya is unique for us and his needs might be. So that needs, a kind of individual attention. And then we also sponsor courses based on Indian wisdom, leadership courses for Amatyas. Organization takes care of the finance part of it. And many of our Amatyas have done leadership courses with Chiranjeev Gurukul and have benefited immensely. I'm one of them. And I'm excited again, to enroll for the next course also. So that is there. Then we have learning from Mitras. We call our dealers, vendors to teach us something, and we also share our learning with them. I guess Nilesh can explain this part better than me because he is the one who anchors it. Yeah.
Yes, you can please share, Nilesh.
Before I share our experience with Mitras, I would like to, add about the learning sessions that are happening in our organization. So we call that as deal session drop everything and learn. So it is not that just the Amatyas are, trying to teach something. I mean, that was the concept of Ashwini only, that all our stakeholders, I mean, right from the operators will come forward and they will share something. And, we were amazed that the variety of, the content and, the people gave us. So we learned a lot from the operator also. So when we completed one cycle of such session, I thought I should ask them, shall we continue this? So the response was like, why are you asking, even asking this? Why, whether should we continue? Obviously we want to continue. So that was the response. I mean,
Superb.
this is how it is, cascading down, and everyone feels like it is what we need.
Yes. So before you continue to the Mitra, folks, I want to tell you that one of the primary reasons for sharing this slide is to say that now there is not a single individual in the organization who cannot facilitate sessions. Think about how many organizations are there where you can go right down to the last level and say, you also share your learning. अभी वो शायद अर्थशास्त्र के सूत्र ना बोले, लेकिन उसका एसेंस उसको आ गया है, and he'll share it by way of stories. So even the one you see now, on the screen, if I'm not mistaken, is also a gentleman who is a personal trainer in a gym. He took a session on, what is fitness all about? What is holistic health about? How can you do it? Anybody can teach. Even the gentleman who, on the part time is serving us chai with great love is also conducting sessions. 100% of the organization is now a facilitator. That's a phenomenal takeaway of the impact of Indian wisdom, my dear friends. Yes, please continue, Nilesh.
So basically, I mean, we do visit our vendors and our dealers. I mean, we call them as mitras, to understand their processes, how, again, from the Indian wisdom, what we have learned is, whatever you are performing, just keep asking, is this the best way of doing it? So we do visit our mitras, we, invite them to visit our premises, and that knowledge sharing is happening. And,
yes.
I mean,
superb.
We have made a schedule. Now it is in a more structured way.
Yes, superb. So, well, we can go on and on, but I want to come to the audience very quickly, but not without first, circling back to Pankaj. And you can see Pankaj on the in the images also here, the joy in learning, and you can see, but then that's a very important thing I want to share with you, dear friends. I've seen the best organizations are those in which the Swamis are themselves involved in the learning. ये बहुत जरूरी बात है. And then there are other organizations that say, train the rest of the organization. But you know what? I won't participate in them. I'm sure all of you know such companies. But every single session that we do, you can find Pankaj and Juhi there. That's one of the key differentiators, dear friends. So coming back to Pankaj, so what stage are we at now? And what thoughts come to mind? Where do we go from here?
Yeah. So I think one very basic thing which we thought was kind of missing and we were expecting it to happen, that has happened. We've all, now got a purpose, and we are all aligned to that purpose. That is right from the Amatyas to the Dand and the people around. The whole ecosystem is now in sync, and that sync is only improving, and the synergy is improving. And I think I see, the junior most operator also being equally excited and coming to work, and they're looking forward to their session coming and talking, and
Wow.
we have heard some beautiful stories of people coming forward and saying how their lives have changed. One of the guys once came and in his presentation, he said, I think Salim it was, he said, I was being looked, as a person who was, a gunda, and people would look down at me and would be, avoiding me when I was going out because I had all the vices and everything. And somehow I started reflecting on in my own way and understanding whatever sessions I went through. And I decided the first thing I did was I started interacting. He started going to for his prayers twice a day. He made his own, in his way, his dincharya and discipline. And then he said, I got rid of my Tata Sky connection at home. And I said, I'm
Wow.
wasting. And I started reading. And then slowly I got into the company of more learned people. And today I'm respected. That people don't say, "Oh, this guy is going." They will stop and talk to me, and I started getting respect from the same people who would avoid me. And he had the
Outstanding.
courage to stand in front of the whole company, all the staff, and admit how he was. And today that little effort from his side in few months, has
Yes.
got that joy in him, that confidence in him, and he
Phenomenal.
stand in front of. And like this, there are
Phenomenal.
many such stories. Guys who would be kind of missing from their job for the first 3 days of the month because they got their salary, and they some of them would be found lying the side of the road because they consumed extra alcohol. And those guys have come out of, I mean, of course, with some help from us, our side, getting them aligned with some AA groups and all that. But they've completely come out of it. There's a turnaround. Their families have come back and said, well, now he's stopped consuming any alcohol. And so they've all understood the concept of prosperity, and so well that it's no longer limited to the organization. It is now percolating to their families and their extended families, and there is a certain amount of joy which I can see in the people. Of course,
Yes. What a phenomenal.
there are pressures, and I
Amazing.
pressures, undue pressure at time on them. But I think they are all enjoying, and we are looking forward to getting into our Aster 2.0 is the last slide. Well, good. Like we were talking about two companies. I'm supposed to be the director of one, and Juhi is the Swamini of the others. But we decided now we are merging the two companies, and we are that's what Rajesh named it 2.0. It's a different name. Aster technology
Yes.
name has been evolved. But we are looking forward to it. And one of the things we achieved also was there was this mindset that this is, I work for Embark, I work for Aster. There were different verticals, and they were there was to bring them together, and to even before the new company will start, and they will be sitting under one roof, they are already aligned to each other. And I'm also equally excited
Powerful.
the new venture taking off, and the same team which has been there for years, the new people who join in, they very quickly align, and somehow we've also realized how what we should look forward into in terms of qualities of a person when we are hiring. The HR Ashwini is also put those things very nicely in place. So the new talent which is coming in,
Brilliant.
so kind of aligned. So that, I mean, it's also a work in progress though, but
Yes.
fairly excited about what we have been able to achieve and what we are likely to in the years to come. We want to continue with.
So, what a powerful story this was. And you can see the sutras on the screen. But I'm not going to go to the audience without a little bit of live experience. So, may I please request Aman to play the video? It'll give you a taste of, live an MDP, a management development program in action. Please go. Voice, please. It's not coming through. Not able to hear the voice yet. Could you check once with the enabling of the audio?
It gives me a very good feeling that we progress. Whether we progress financially or not, but as an organization we are progressing, which will eventually lead to automatically lead to prosperity of everyone.
Extremely proud of the progress that has happened, and it's finally good progress and the company. Next time we'll talk of further progress, and it's a continuous process.
I'm so grateful to Rajesh that in a consolidation period he has been there, and I'm sure it is these things don't happen by chance.
Yes.
There is huge grace,
Yes.
huge grace of our Lord and of our gurus, which is there to bring such teachers in our life.
Superb. So it's over to you audiences now, very eager to listen to you. You can either put them in the chat, but since we don't have any right now, unless I missed something from earlier, please could you unmute and ask? Yes, we can come out of the PPT, please. Let's see the audience. It'll be fun. Yes, who'd like to begin the proceedings? There was one question that was shared. Could you please quickly share it? And that's for you, Nilesh, I'm told.
I think Param had a question. If Param...
I had a question.
Okay, please go, Nainaji. You should always get the first chance.
My question is for Ashwini, that it is such a holistic and a beautiful organization to work for. So, and we see that there are quite a few number of people. So what is the attrition rate?
Yes, you'll need to unmute, Ashwin.
Yes, sir, ma'am, you should ask me what is the retention rate than the attrition rate. We do not have attrition. We have retention rate, 100% retention. The person who joined us right from the start of the organization might be like around 25 years ago is still with us. It's not just with the employees, it is with vendors and with dealers also. They are our ecosystem, they were our ecosystem, and they will be, I guess, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please go. Next question. Yeah, that sounds almost incredible. That 100% of people. Yes. Yes. So I think here comes the question from Parmeshwaran to Nilesh. How does it take into account plan B if plan A doesn't work? Can you give an example? Please unmute.
Sorry, sir, I couldn't get the question.
Basically, Parmeshwaran is asking that in the Panchang tool, right, which we shared, कि plan B का कुछ काम कर कुछ example दे सकते हो क्या कि how was something taken into account in case plan A didn't work?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, when we we have to make, for example, a control panel, we need different stuff from different vendors. So we have a vendor, again, all the vendors are our mitra, but we have a primary vendor through which we will get the inputs, but we will have to ensure that we have to meet the target, the on-time deliveries. The plan B is ready, and the vendor B is also ready with, not the exact quantity what will be procuring from vendor A, but with minimum, quantity he will have with him. So at the point of time, we will have that option to either to take it from A or from B. So that we are following in every stage of the project execution.
Superb. Okay, Charu has just given a further extension to this question, I guess, is that what is the approach of Arthashaastra towards the ecosystem of the vendors? I think what she means is specific action-wise have we done for the vendors considering that they are Mitras? Anything that you could state?
Right
What
now,
has changed in considering them as Mitras?
Financial year-end pressure and whatnot, but we are planning to have our Mitra sessions at their place. We will be also sharing whatever knowledge we have, or the learnings from the Indian wisdom. We will be sharing those with our vendors first, and then with our dealers and the customers. So yet to start that, I mean, next month also we have planned it next month onwards.
Yes. Superb. So I'm going to, while we wait for our next question, I'm going to ask a question to Pankaj because I'm sure this is something that occurs to audiences. So everything appeared quite hunky-dory in this journey, Pankaj. Please tell us what challenges you faced.
You took my question, Rajesh. This is Vandana. I was
If
about
any.
to ask.
Oh, okay. So who said that, please? I'm asking on
Vandana.
your behalf.
This is Vandana.
Yes, Vandana. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to, I'll add to it. So Pankaj or Ashwini, whosoever wants to respond. So what are the challenges that you faced, and were you frustrated at times, and how did you overcome that?
Challenges with respect to implementing and going through the process of this change and learning?
Yes, absolutely.
Somehow it has been a fairly smooth sailing, and surprisingly, I think I started my talk by saying I had this advantage, or I was blessed again. Things just fell in place for me, and my first job also had taught me a lot. So what we learned in Thermax also was that anything that you want to be successful in an organization, it has to come from the top. So in Thermax, we were trying to implement total quality management that time. And Mr. Aga used to sit in the training sessions, and he would be like a student and ask all the questions. And we never felt that, if the Swami is involved, I mean, everybody also kind of gets aligned very quickly. So here also, I think maybe because of our genuinely feeling, it's not just because we wanted to have something and everybody to be aligned, we were sitting there for the sake of sitting. We definitely feel that we will be benefited, and we are getting benefited, and somehow didn't feel any resistance. And all the noises, kept reducing, all the frictions kept reducing, and the momentum kept, moving in the, faster, and there was acceleration in that whole thing. And also the dincharya that I'm trying to follow, in that that little reinforcement keeps happening on and off. The weekly sessions helps them to align. I mean, like we showed only one example, one first product of the month, the values that we created. Now it is not just, it didn't stop there. All the departments, they took those values and they broke it down into their function. How in their function they are going to, use these values and show change and deploy those values. And they came back and said, well, in my department, in my accounts department, now we are trying to save on papers. I have got some software which we spent some 2,000 rupees, got something from Tally. Now I can attach a soft copy of the invoice, and I don't need to print that many. So I've saved this much paper, and conserved, saved something for the environment. So like that, each department has somebody has looked at knowledge and excellence and training. Somebody has done something else, but each of those 5 values, it's coming from them now, and it is, like I say, it's been fairly smooth sailing. And wherever we felt, some people were not as aligned, we put in that little extra effort. Even at times, Rajesh sir, make them understand, and it's not that difficult to understand. It's not a rocket science. It's what has been there for generations, for years, for I don't know, centuries, I think. So what is common sense and what was common earlier, and which we forgot, which got lost, somehow we are trying to rebuild on that, and not too difficult. I think we've not faced any difficulties.
So we are getting now questions coming from all over. So one question, anyone can pick this up. Did the Sanskrit involved not act as an inhibition for the learning of, in the organization at the Swami level, at the Amartya level, and then further down? Who wants to pick this?
Yeah,
you want to go, Ashwini? Yeah, go.
Yes, initially we may feel, oh my God, Sanskrit, ye nahi aayega, is type mein. But for Swami and Amartya, Rajesh sir is there. He explains the sutras very well. So we remember, now many of the sutras are by heart to me. You ask me to, say the sutras and start saying it. But for Danda, for our frontline heroes, how we do it is, we tell them the story first, narrate the story first, then we write down the sutras. You might have seen the images of the boards, and we break that sutra word in words. So when you break Sanskrit, it becomes easy to understand, because Sanskrit mein sanya hoti hai, jod hota hai. You need to break it, and then word by word I explain it to them. And then I keep on reinforcing in the next session. Okay, what did we learn in the last session? Do you remember the sutras? What the meaning of it? Kind of thing. So they have started getting it. Our people are intellectual people, so they get it. Yeah.
They are most of all, they're involved and interested people. Yes. Okay, we have time for just 2 questions. Jui will take your question and Rahul Bhoite's question. Please go, Jui.
So my question to my team and the Swami in this, that so we have had a learning of 2 years. Where do you think you will be going in the next 2 or 3 years from now?
Okay, I guess Pankaj will have to take this. Pankaj, you are on mute, perhaps.
No,
yeah, go on. Sorry.
So you asked me that question, and I think you will also give me the answer, because in case you want to give the answer too, you are equally welcome. If I have to answer, I don't have a specific target in mind. I would want to go with the flow, and since the flow is in the correct direction in general, as we grow further as a company, as we become a larger organization, I think our responsibilities also towards our ecosystem increase, and somewhere I would also want to give it back to the system, to the surroundings, my mitras, and in general, if we could be of any value, if anybody could come and learn with us. In fact, in the new place that we are building, we are we are trying to have a space very clearly demarcated for trainings and learnings. Not just, in fact, one of the thoughts I had was the quality of engineers that we get. the fresh engineers. We normally try to hire freshers because we feel they are moldable. Technically, their quality is deteriorating like anything. So we thought we will maybe have interns coming in and we will train them, but not only interns for technical training, we would want to give them some wisdom, which is missing from the current generation and the generations to come. So we would want to contribute and contribute meaningfully. And since we've tasted the blood, we would want to move. Juhi, you had some other thoughts. Please go ahead and say. I'll mute myself.
No problem. So I'm going to move to Rahul's question. I see lots of questions. So folks, please bear with us. We'll just take another 4 to 5 minutes because the questions are interesting. Also, I think I would like to take Deepika's question if there's still time. Rahul's question is, and maybe Ashwini, you can respond to this. Have you seen the team spirit, the team working go up as a result of this thing that you called as learning culture?
Absolutely.
Give us some.
Yes. We are. It is visible. No, it is visible not just to us, to the external stakeholders also. They also come back to us and say, "Oh, what has changed in the organization?" We are sensing the change, positive shift. So, as Sir said, we are two parts of one. We are two organizations under one umbrella, one Embark and one Aster. And we used to work with the mindset that we are in Aster, we are in Embark. But with this journey of learning and with this journey of wisdom, now that mindset has changed. Now we are all one on Amartya level and on Danda level. In learning session, as I told before, as I said before, that everyone is equal. Right from Swami to Danda, everyone sits in the session, and that brings the equality in the organization, that everyone is on the same page. So they get that feeling. So it has improved the bonding between the people. That human element has entered. That's the beauty. It was there, but it got enhanced.
Yes. So there's a clarification question by Kalyan I'll take first, and then we'll end with Deepika's question. So Kalyan is asking, and Nilesh, you can respond to this. Every Amatya is a Swami in his own way, is it not? Then he's asked about Danda also, but I'll just take the first part of this question. So is every Amatya also a Swami? Can you take this, please?
Of course, he is. I mean, we are, on the path of, becoming a Swami. But if you ask me for my department, I am the Swami. I mean, I will definitely follow that Dincharya, and I have to be a role model for my team. So, though they have, role models like the leader, but I mean, for a particular department, yes.
Yes. So thanks, Nilesh. That was a nice, crisp response. Okay. So the last question to you, Pankaj, and then we close. Deepika is asking, because this was one very exciting part where you said competition bhi mitra ban gaya. So has relationship changed? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about this, but I think there's more curiosity about that. How has this changed life as an organization?
So I think it starts from our own thought process. We were all these years, told this is a customer and this is a competitor. And when you are in front of a competitor, you have to behave in a certain way, treat him as a kind of an enemy. You're going to be fighting with him. That is the feeling which we always had. And somewhere when we were studying the Saptang and we were discussing and we were learning, in those conversations, this evolved. Can we do things differently? When we sat with the marketing team and many of our customers, we realized what the competition is offering. In some cases, we didn't have. And there are certain places where we were having some solutions which they didn't have. So somewhere we could collaborate with not every competitor, but we said, you don't reinvent the wheel. We have this, you have this. Like, for example, many of them are into, we also do a lot of IoT work, data and monitoring. Aman leads that. And there are so many other IoT companies which are purely IoT companies, and we realize that they also need sensors. Unless you get some inputs from somewhere, you can't have the data going on to the, and you don't give solutions. Data has to come from somewhere. So why should we say he's also doing IoT, we are also doing IoT work, and they are competitors? We went to them and he said, well, we do it for our products. Wherever you are doing, you can still just take the hardware part of it. You will buy it from somewhere. Don't treat it as your competition. There we align with you and we will only give you the hardware. And we realized so much of our business came from such IoT companies, which we always thought they were competitors, and we were looking at what they are doing. Can we do that? And so much so that in some cases we took a step back and we said, okay, you front end it, you lead it. Our products anyways are going through you. That's how it has happened. And this is just one type, but everywhere we look at some possible ways of aligning with them and them aligning with us. Recently, we had one of our customers, very senior person, visiting us on a Sunday, and they wanted to see our setup, most unimpressive setup we have right now. And I was a little kind of worried, what will we show? And it was a Sunday, non-working day. My driver was also on leave, and I had to go and pick him up from the airport, and he had just 3 hours. He was taking a flight back. Throughout our journey from the airport to the office and the small lunch we had together, and we went back, we were only talking about the Arthashaastra. And he forgot to look at our factory. He forgot to look at the product demonstration. And he, at the end of it, he said, we would like to work with you. And even if you are not the lowest, we'll figure out a way. But we would want to, then we got aligned. Wow. So if, it comes from your heart and what you say, I think people quickly get aligned. So I think that answers many of the previous questions also.
Yes.
If your heart is in it, it'll happen.
So I'm going to have to bring this most exciting session to a close. I'll start with thanking the audience. Thank you so much. I think most of you folks continue to stay right from the start to end. Please don't go yet. Amita will tell you a little bit about how you can start this journey and then end with the Shanti Mantra. I want to thank our panelists, starting with Pankaj, whom I've had the wonderful opportunity of working with. Without the Swami mindset, which he already had, and Juhi alongside the enabler, I don't think this journey would have begun. So grateful thanks to Pankaj, Nilesh, who gave, the impetus to the organization as well from his level and his fascination for Indian wisdom anyways. And Ashwini, who, I think she came back to her childhood days by learning sutras and pushing that journey ahead. Of course, I have to thank everyone from the Chiranjeev Gurukul team, as well as the members of the community who drive this initiative of Sammelan. So thank you, everyone, Aditi, Upasna, Vinaya, and everyone else who's been involved. Thank you, audience, and I hand it over to Amita now.
Wow, what a beautiful, powerful session it was, and so much of alignment I see, Rajesh, with Malacca Spice. It's quite, I was getting so emotional as I heard Pankaj and Nilesh and Ashwini speak, actually. And but wonderful. It's been a wonderful evening and great questions from the audience. And I also want to mention that we are starting our Prathamik module, which is coming up on in the coming week. So we have shared, what it is about. Rajesh has spoken in detail about what the course is. And we would like for you all to, we invite you all to participate. Those of you who don't know about it, we would like for you to connect with us and we'll tell you a little more about it. We also wanted to share how much the community is doing, the Sammelan activities, the Samkrida activities, which are coming up very soon, and a lot of things which is happening in the community of Chiranjeev Gurukul, which we'll keep you posted about. And with that, I would like to call today's evening to a close. We've had a wonderful evening from all of you, Ashwini, Pankaj, and Nilesh. Thank you very much. Rajesh, thank you so much for your moderation, and thank you Aditi, Upasana, Vinaya, Meenakshi for all the back-end work. I'll end with the Shanti mantra. Yeah, so please join me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you and namaste, and keep looking for more from Sammelan. Thank you.
Dhanyavad everyone. Thanks so much for being there. Bye-bye. Great gratitude to the Acharyas.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.